All right, so ladies and gentlemen, it's time to also invite our next speaker, but before that, we have a quick announcement. Those who registered for the workshop by TikTok ads, please note that workshop will commence at 4:30 p.m. I repeat, the workshop by TikTok ads will commence at 4:30 p.m. and this is only for those who have received the invite. So those who have registered and received the invite can proceed to studio number 2 at 4:30 p.m. Not right now. It's at 4:30 p.m. only because right now we have our next spotlight session and we're going to invite Mr. Vivek Pandey, who's Vice President Revenue Strategy with Times Internet, to share with us insights on how technology is powering consumer journey on India's largest digital products company. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together. Please help me welcome on stage Vivek Pandey.
No, I think you guys can hear me, right? Yeah, duplicates. Okay, so I'll just get straight to the chase because I know the TikTok workshop is supposed to start and time is very critical for you guys. Let's just watch this video for a bit before we start. Okay, so this number is slightly dated. When this video was made, it's a much bigger video. It talks about the different numbers for Times Internet, and at that time it was about 450 million. Today we are about 550 million users globally, and I just want to talk about, first we go through quickly the numbers that the group has, but then the crux of it would be how we leverage these numbers to deliver value to the advertisers, which I think is far more important than numbers per se. These are the main properties that Times Internet has. 5 of our properties now are in the 100 million monthly users club. Of course, Ghana, Crickbuzz, and ET, Namarat Times, all these players, very well known brand names. 2 of our properties now in the 250 million monthly users bracket now, which is the TOI and MX Player. MX Player, of course, a recent partnership and now is going places. So all of this put together, in the video it showed 3 out of 4 Indians, but all of this put together, 9 out of 10 Indians today are consuming some of the other content from Times Internet as a platform in India on a monthly basis. So it's a mind-boggling number, and it's just about 6 months back we were saying 3 out of 4 Indians. Now we're saying 9 out of 10 Indians. It's just a matter of time where we find that 10th Indian also. But numbers, they have a limit, right? 500 million, 600 million. We have seen a lot of that. But then how do you leverage all of that and deliver value to the advertisers, specifically the small to medium advertisers? That I think was the challenge for us. So all of this, while all these brands that you hear about are being B2C brand, everybody is aware of them. But behind all of these is a lesser known brand of TIL, which is Columbia, which is the engine that powers all our analytics, powers all of our advertising, and is right now the biggest premium publisher network in India. So Columbia has its own DAP. We invested in it because we had a lot of first-party data that consumers were giving us while they were browsing the India Times properties. Men6p, IDIVA, IndiaTimes.com itself. Then Dine Out is another of Times Internet's properties. People are eating in different restaurants. Music is like a deluge of data there. What kind of songs they are listening to. Crickbuzz, of course, when people are watching cricket, ball by ball, what teams they like, what players they like. And then we have a lot of smaller sort of niche properties, Tech Radar being one of them, Gadgets Now is another. All in all put together about 40 odd different properties, all sorts of different signals coming together. Now how do you make sense of it? How do you put it together? It would have been very difficult, almost impossible for us to go with any third-party player with this kind of a problem. Because Ghana in itself can probably work with a third-party player to solve its DMP needs. Maybe a Crickbuzz in itself can do that. But for a group with such diverse properties across mobile, web, and apps, it was a challenge that needed a tech investment of our own. So we did that about 6-7 years back, and it has been a very phenomenal journey. What the engine does is, what any DMP would do, it collects all of this audience data from all our properties. So while different properties are very independent in terms of their MarTech stacks, some may use Google Analytics, some may be using Firebase, some may be using CleverTap, some may be using something else. But there's this, if there is one technology that all of them use, that technology is our DMP. It is present on every single of Times Internet's properties. And Columbia, by the way, this slide doesn't talk about it, but being a publisher network, it also has a lot of publishers outside of Times Internet network. A lot of reputed publishers can't take their names here, but all of that data is currently being fed into our DMP. Then, of course, there is metadata, which is inferred data. For example, demographic data is something that digital always, is sort of really dry on. You don't get that much of it, as much as you would want. So we have models that will sort of infer that data from interests and from behavior. From whatever data you have, you use that for training, and then what you don't know, you try to infer that. So there's a lot of metadata construction that happens. There are, of course, all the campaigns that advertisers do on us. The learnings from there, what kind of campaigns users are clicking on, what is the behavior, and then you put all of that together, and then of course there is a lot of CRM data, which is, properties like ET Money and Dine Out have a very direct customer transaction data as well. So you put all of that together, and overall there are about 36,000 segments, but what we sell in the market, it's about 7,000 plus audience segments that users, advertisers can buy. All of this is available from the Columbia platform on a direct basis. Some of it is now getting available on third-party programmatic platforms as well. But to really leverage the true power of Columbia, one would have to actually have that direct relationship, and that's where the fruits of all this data start coming to you as an advertiser. Just one sort of example from one of our recent campaigns. There was an air purifier brand, and a campaign was to be done about that. So we had a lot of content on our site. Unfortunately, because of the conundrum that Delhi is in. And people were very psyched up, and they were consuming content like crazy. From not just from this year, but from last year, it's an issue that's ongoing. People are very concerned about that. So we were able to, usually programmatic data that's available to people is very, very off the shelf. It's like very predefined segments that you buy at a predefined price, and that's how you sort of go on from there. But in our case, what we are able to do is that, specific to the needs of an advertiser, we can create these kind of custom segments. We can even work directly, do some pixel integration to the specific content that they're interested in, and sort of deliver campaigns with them. So the fact that this was done is probably not as surprising as the speed at which this can be done. So we have sort of partners today, which in a matter of 2-3 days can get a lot of these custom integrations going. Where do you think your users are? What is the sort of area that you feel particularly connect well with your brand? You sort of connect with the team, and just happens in very quickly, 2-3 days time. So that's the beauty of custom segments. So this is how it works. I think pretty much everybody understands. You just first of all, based on the content that they're consuming, you do an intent mapping, which goes into a DMP. And once that intent mapping is done, then comes the AdTech stack. So a lot of people also, have these questions about what really is Columbia. And Columbia is actually the sort of name for our entire AdTech stack, which has multiple parts to it. So while Columbia is our DMP, Columbia also is an ad server. So a lot of ads that you see on that TIL network are actually served by Columbia also. That's where I think the seamless integration is able to happen. The DMP data from Columbia, because the ad server also belongs to Columbia, so we are able to serve your ads in real time, and the brand was able to achieve phenomenal results in a very short period of time. More examples. While Columbia is a data-driven platform, but we believe that value to an advertiser doesn't really have to be all the time, clicks and CPA and short-term metrics, the kind of stuff that is generally being focused upon a lot these days. while that is important, but I think top of the funnel metrics should also be important to marketers, because that is where in the long term your brand is going. You can get clicks today, you can get transactions today, and we have seen a lot of these stories happen in the last 2-3 years in the startup world. You know, like a spark, a brand would go up, you get a lot of orders, but then 6 months later you ask the customer on the street, do you know what this company does, who they are? People won't know. People just move on to the next gig. And that's where, long-term brand building is very important. And that's what we constantly do for our clients, that, you get your clicks at the price that you want. Of course, we want that. Be happy, but please also keep a very close look at your brand. And, these are the brand lifts that we generated for some of the campaigns that we did. In some cases, as high as 30%, even for very well-known brands. And all of that done by, as I said, multiple parts to Columbia. So the brand lift survey and sort of all that stack is also part of the Columbia AdTech stack itself. That being said, while those were the top of the funnel metrics, the bottom funnel metrics also show dramatic improvements when you use the audience-based targeting from Columbia. So in case you're wondering, the metric here in question is usually the CTR, which is what we look at from a bottom funnel perspective. And that also generates a significant uplift once you use audience kind of targeting. I was reading this book in the morning. I'm not sure how many of you have heard of it or you're aware of it. Very fantastic book. The man who mistook his wife for a hat. It's a book by Oliver Sacks. And he starts that book on a very, very beautiful note. He says that all of neuroscience and cognitive development has actually been the study of the left brain, right? And nobody has studied the right brain. So all your studies, the speech is done by this part, and side works from here and this works from there. All of that is left brain, and nobody has ever understood the right brain. And he takes a lot of these cases, patients. There's actually, this title of the book is actually a real case where the guy thought his wife was a hat. And there are multiple cases like that, and you couldn't really explain what was going on. How does that connect with what we are discussing here? The connection is that we are doing the exact same thing to digital marketing and marketing in general, what neuroscientists have done to psychology. They have broken it down so much that they can't put it back together now. It's pretty much the Humpty Dumpty thing, right? You have broken down your brand into clicks and CTRs and specific user customers. If you ask any digital marketer today, what's your brand look like compared to what it was 6 months back? Not many of them will have an answer. If you ask them how is your CTR looking like, yes, they will tell you 10 different ways of calculating CTR and CPA and this month's budget and how much we are getting. Point being made, while we don't sort of decry that in any way, that we shouldn't do that, but I think long-term metrics are very important, and Columbia as a platform is very, very heavily focused on making sure that you don't destroy your brand while you're chasing your CPA and CPC and CTR and whatnot. Another major sort of learning that we wanted to share with you is never forget the power of the creative. Whatever platform you are on, be it Columbia or anything else in the world, what one advertiser will get out of from that vis-a-vis what the other advertiser will get from that can be multiple times different. This is the creative strategy. And we have seen, brands, campaigns getting differentiated a lot basis that. Case in point being vernacular ads. And that has worked like magic when we have started suggesting this to our partners, and some of them started sort of executing that. I know that dynamic creative is a very big thing, that basis what you did in the morning today, the ad will be different, and basis what is there in your pocket, the ad will be different. That is like taking it very far, and you can of course go to that. But we feel that almost 60-70% of that battle is won the moment you at least customize to vernacular ads. And what we are showing here is the lifts that people have generated in their campaigns just by following the advice from the team and taking the support from the Columbia team in doing vernacular ads. If you're on a Hindi side, you will see Hindi ads. If you're a Hindi speaking person, you see Hindi ads. And that works like magic in India, which is a multilingual country, we all know that. Even for people who say that they're English speaking, we have seen that the response to a Hindi ad at times is higher. And I don't know where that comes from, but it does happen. So this is sort of the summary of it. PIL, massive platform, huge amounts of data. We created Columbia. We have all the capability to deliver your lower funnel performance and all those kind of things. But we like to work at scale and sort of replicate on long-term brand-centric metrics. The brands that we were talking about earlier. So Colombia, as I told you, TIL and Colombia is more like two overlapping circles, not that Colombia is contained within TIL. So some of these brands here are actually partners on the Colombia Publisher Network, and we aggressively have a publisher development program as well, like a typical ad network would do, where more and more brands keep getting added day in day out. The key difference being that these are all premium publishers. So we are not sort of you sign up online and get your site added to Colombia. That kind of model doesn't exist. There's a lot of due diligence that happen and only premium publishers get on board. So we keep hearing about this problem of fake news and fraud clicks and all of that. What we believe is that once you let the garbage in, there is only a limit to which you can clean it up. So you can have 10 different models of fake news detection and ad fraud elimination and all of that. But we have, from the beginning believed why even let that in, right? Why even let sort of shady sites in that can generate that kind of stuff that you have to worry about? So that's the philosophy that we work with, and hence this kind of a network that, by the way, all the numbers that you saw earlier, a lot of people ask me questions about, TOI is this and some other news site is here and some other news aggregator is here. One thing that people don't sort of know for sure is that the entire news traffic of the TIL group as a whole is purely organic. We don't spend a dime on it. That should be kept in mind whenever you compare TIL's numbers with any other sort of news player out there. That's a call we took 2 years back, and that ties into sort of the premium publisher philosophy that we have. That you have people who are connected to the brand, who are coming on their own to our sites, and that massive 250 million number is a purely organic number. So you get very dependable traffic. Obviously, the problem of ad fraud won't be there. Obviously, the problem of fake news, etc., because we are purely curated and editorial content doesn't exist, so on and so forth. That's almost all I could pack into the limited time. Any questions anybody has, I'll be happy to take. You can find out more about Times Internet and Colombia on our websites. But I would just like to close with the message that in this sort of madness for numbers-driven, data-driven marketing, don't forget that right brain. The brand will stay, everything else will come and go. AI and ML and all these things will come and go. But what we are seeing is that people who are focused on long-term brand creation can still leverage technology, but as long as you don't forget the brand in the sort of madness for clicks and numbers. Any questions? Happy to take. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pandey. Thank you once again. And during the report, I'm going to request our members of our delegates, in fact, to connect with you offline.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you guys.
Thank you once again. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, now